provided you are advertising a service which is other than the real money gambling service, so it could be providing statistics, providing information about a sporting event, providing footage about another sporting event, odds comparison, all these services which are ancillary to the real money gambling offer, they can be freely advertised.
Welcome to the first episode of WH Talks, in which we shall be meeting various industry professionals to discuss key legal aspects. Today, in the first episode of the Gaming Insight series, we shall be discussing the latest updates on the Italian regulatory framework as well as the market as it is evolving. With us, we have Quirino Mancini, and we shall be discussing the latest updates on the Italian market. Quirino, you have over 20 years experience in advising gambling operators in Italy. And how have you seen the gambling industry in Italy and the regulatory framework in Italy evolve over the past years, especially considering that Italy was the first jurisdiction to create a national authorization regime?
Thank you, Joe. Yes, I do have more than 20 years, that is true. And I also have a very long experience in dealing with gambling regulations in Italy. So I have seen over these many years lots of situations and matters and how they evolved over time. It's been a long journey, which is still in the making. It is true, Italy was the first European jurisdiction to coherently, consistently, and comprehensively regulate online gaming almost 20 years ago. Since then, we have seen, I would say, all the big players come to the market. The vast majority of them are still there. The smaller operators, they have over time found it quite challenging and tough to continue to compete in such a crowded market, where the fact that it is fully regulated means that you have lots of compliance to deal with, lots of rules to abide by, and most importantly, you also need to have a dedicated organization, a dedicated team. These are the essential elements to do good business in Italy. In addition, obviously, to having a good platform, a good product. All these things together are the elements that you need to deploy to compete in a very crowded, although also very dynamic market. It's a market that is very responsive in terms of players that want to get more games, more offers from the industry. So it's I would say overall it's been a very interesting journey. Over these years, I have seen certainly an intensification of rules and I would say administrative and technical hurdles to be tackled, but this has created a very safe ecosystem where players are fully protected, operators are fully monitored by the regulator, and there are also some less positive aspects, because we still have a big illegal gambling issue in Italy, like in any other regulated market. So I would just finish my first comments by saying that the risk that I see for a highly regulated market like Italy, and for other markets across Europe that have followed the same approach, is that over-regulating might actually turn into a way of pushing the market in the wrong direction towards the unlicensed operators. So the risk and the challenge is there.
Because ultimately, even putting certain restrictions, like the advertising restrictions that were placed in the past, is not giving the advantage to get regulated at the end of the day.
Well,
or it's limiting the advantage of getting regulated.
See, the advertising restrictions where, again, Italy was the pioneer of the advertising restrictions. This blanket gambling advertising ban goes back to 2018. So we are now into the 7th year since it's been in place. Quite honestly, it did not really work in terms of disincentivizing.
Fair playing field also with...
It didn't really work that way. It was also due to the fact that there are loopholes in the operational guidelines.
In fact, we see a lot of advertising, even in football pitches and other sports events, on information sites, which have the same brand name.
It's interesting to observe that when the regulator overnight introduced the blanket advertising ban, eventually the Parliament decided to task not the regulatory authority, but the telecoms watchdog with the task of implementing the operational guidelines. Now, hitherto, the telecoms authority had never touched gambling as a business. They had never dealt with it.
So there wasn't the
experience. So they had no clue about online gambling, what online gambling means, how it works, etc. And certainly that was not a very good start for someone who was actually expected to provide the operational guidelines, which are even more important than the frame legislation, which resulted in these operational guidelines leaving some leeway for navigating through the ban. And for instance, what you were making reference to is the case in point, because provided you are advertising a service which is other than the real money gambling service, so it could be providing statistics, providing information about a sporting event, providing footage about another sporting event, odds comparison, all these services which are ancillary to the real money gambling offer, they can be freely advertised. And the operational guidelines did not even require, in doing so, to use a different brand, a different name, etc. So what the industry did was simply launch an ancillary service of some sort, attaching to it the same brand name plus something else. All the industry operators have resorted to that, very, I would say, very natural way of continuing to advertise.
Very smart.
Also, because if you think about it, there is something quintessentially wrong and ill-judged in introducing a ban, a draconian ban, just 4 months after having launched the license tender, which is the previous one, not the one that was launched this year, but the one in 2018. In March 2018, on St. Patrick's Day, the operators were required to file an application, and then in July of the same year, 4 months later, simply because in between there had been new elections and the new change of government, etc. They changed the rules, and so who had filed for a license was no longer, all the new entrants to the market. They would get a license. You apply for a license, you get a license granted, and then overnight someone says, you know what, you cannot advertise your presence in Italy even if you have a license. Isn't that surreal?
This year there was a new bando. For those that don't know, how does it work? What is the process?
Bando is the Italian translation for tender. And yes, there was a new license tender that was launched. It was for the award of the new online gaming licenses that will last for 9 years. The stakes have been upped very much because the new license tender rules are very, very demanding, by all means.
From which point of view? But in terms of
financially speaking, the licensing fee is a hefty 7 million just to get the license. The bond that will have to support the application, the license application, is 750,000 euros. So the bar is very high, and the financial conditions are for the big guys only. That's one example. Another example is the level of, I was making reference to before, the level of additional compliance of all sorts, technical compliance, administrative compliance, that will have to be tackled, and that is reflected also in the tender rules.
Are these compliance rules affecting responsible gaming?
They cover everything from responsible gaming to AML, to technical standards to be met, a number of ISO certifications to accompany the license application, and also some interesting new entries like, diversity reports. You will need to deploy a dedicated team. I would add that they must be absolutely fluent in Italian, because unfortunately my fellow citizens are still entertain quite a difficult relationship with foreign languages. Key documentation is only available in Italian. The technical standards are in Italian. So you need a very good team of IT people in both terms, IT for Italy and IT for IT. And that is something that comes for a price, of course. So going for a license, for the new license nowadays, means having, as I was saying before, deep pockets, a very strong product, a very effective marketing strategy, and a dedicated team.
If an operator has been left out because they don't have the means to do it, but they would like to still keep their brand visible in Italy and get some revenues from the Italian market, is there a way they can work around this?
I would say that the small fish operators that held a license in the build-up to the new tender, to this tender, the smartest ones, they put their license timely on the market and they sold the business. So they launched an exit strategy well ahead of this tender. This tender was announced more than 1 year ago, but everybody knew that this was coming. So the consolidation strategy, what we can call consolidation strategy, started a good few years ago. The smallest operators who had a little, a little business, Italian business, and a license, they decided to sell, to put it on the market, sell and exit. Those that chose to hang on and stick around until this license, the incumbent one, lapses, they chose not to go for the new one. Those guys are out. I think the time the time for using the white label route is over.
So
It will not be
Okay.
permitted. So you have to use the new license will be meant to be used with just one brand attached to
I
it.
see.
So even the white label days are over.
So even the large operators that have more than one brand, they have to choose which brand they are going
Yes,
to focus on.
yes.
I see. Very interesting.
And that is why the biggest operators went for multiple applications. If you have multiple brands that are operating, that are active on the market, and you want to continue to use them, you have to attach one license to that brand, and that is why there have
Very
been,
interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
and that's it. So who chose not to go for a license? That is, I would say, quite a definitive decision. And as you know, this is not an open process. So there is a licensing window. Those who want to enter the market need to take advantage of that window. If you miss it, the only chance you can enter is by way of M&A at a later stage, and certainly it will not be a cheap M&A process.
Definitely. Very interesting. I didn't know this change. This is something that I think even for our viewers is very insightful. And so now what's next with this process? A number of operators have submitted their application. What should they expect?
The pre-go live months will be even more critical, because these are the months when each operator that has been awarded the license will need to get the platform up and running. Getting an online gaming platform in Italy up and running entails making sure that it is fully interfaced with the data, the central control system run by the regulator. And this is an exercise which requires, again, some special dedication and focus, because it means, as you know, having an online gaming platform that is fully linked up with the data center run by the regulator 24/7 in a completely seamless way. And that is possible only if the platform runs a number of codes that enable the real-time communication between the operator's platform and the central control system. And that is a very burdensome exercise from a technical viewpoint.
Basically, we're saying that we moved from a monopoly to an oligarchy, right?
Absolutely.
So basically now the market is closed for any new entrants. The market is closed for any startups, and it has been for some time now closed for startups. So where will the innovation be coming?
The innovation, when it comes to gaming, to online gaming, the innovation will, I would say, have to come from the incumbent operators. We cannot, the approach that our authorities have taken is fewer and bigger. So they don't really want the very crowded market that they had to regulate, monitor, and supervise up until now. They want fewer guys with very strong organization, big shoulders, easy to monitor, easy to tax, and easy to be supervised in a way. So I'm not sure that the priority of the Italian government in rolling out the new license tender was that of making sure that there would be, room for innovation, room for new products. That's not really the focus. Whether that is a very sustainable ecosystem, time will tell. Again, it's going to be tough. Even for the big boys, there will be challenges ahead, including, we were talking about the advertising ban. If you ask me brutally, what are the chances that the advertising ban might be lifted? Well, guess what? The chances are that it
To
might
get
be
worse.
revisited in the wrong direction rather than in a more flexible way.
That's not very encouraging, especially since it's probably one of the first periods of time where we have a relatively stable government in Italy.
Look, the most ironic part of it is that not all games, not all real money games are covered by the advertising ban. Lotteries are not, for instance. Which, begs the question, how comes that lotteries that by default are the game of chance and that are sold for big money. Italy traditionally has a very, very strong lottery market, and which let alone every other type of gaming offer. Just the lottery market, the scratch and win cards, etc., they fetch in the billions to tax revenues to the state. But that is not touched by the advertising ban, which is already a little bit of an inconsistency here. We know obviously the reasons for that, but my point is that if you want to take a very serious approach and put, as they said when they implemented the ban, and put the responsible gaming issue at the center of the repressive action, well, then you should revisit the ban, but make it truly, enforceable across the board, no matter the type of game. Every type of game should be covered by that, or the other way around.
Thank you, Quirino, for joining me today. We would like to thank you for listening to our conversation and watching our podcast. And we hope that it was that you found it insightful and interesting. And on to the next one. See you next time.